Okay, good morning. Happy Saturday. Guess what? We're about to hit September, so that's fun. The year's almost over. That's fun. We're gonna dive into which is something I think I want to keep doing because I bombard the Facts Over Fads coaches um with podcasts and educational material and videos and stuff like that. So I think I want to keep bombarding y'all like I did this morning. So we're going to go over the video from, I don't even remember his name, Dr. Mike Israetel. I think is how you say his name, and Chris Williamson and Chris Williamson interviews a lot of really smart people on health related topics. He's done like Lane Norton, he's done Andy Galpin, he's done Dr. Peter Attia, and now he's done Mike Israetel. And so all those people that he interviews and the way that he interviews people are very uh, applicable to how we talk to our clients or just how we talk to everyday people. And I think it's very beneficial to do so because one, it's hard for us to connect with people who maybe aren't on the same journey as us. So listening to podcasts and hearing the conversations unfold, it kind of allows us to kind of again feel like a little bit more of connection and kind of understand what they're going through. And we're going to kind of get into some topics that he talked about as well. Because again, it's really hard for us to be like, well, I've never been fat. So how do I connect and help fat people if I don't know what it's like to be fat? Right. And so this is where we experience and exposure are the two big things. So we have a couple topics in the notes that we're going to go over. So the first one is, do calories matter? The second is the truth about set point theory, which is super interesting. We can kind of take a deep dive into that because it's a summation of your lifestyle, habits, and behaviors. The power of weight loss drugs, so we'll talk about like Ozempic, semaglutides, tirzepatide, so on and so forth. And then, are we really inactive more now than we were in the last 200 years, 300 years? And so we'll talk about that. So in the beginning, and we're going to kind of riff off of this, all of us. So be ready to chit chat. Um, do calories matter? And if you say yes, what do you tell someone who says no? Who's got the answer? Do calories matter?
Calories absolutely matter because you cannot rewrite the laws of thermodynamics.
Okay, but what if someone says, well, I tracked my calories and nothing happened?
Well, then you say, well, how did you track? Were you tracking just in an app by sight? Were you weighing and measuring, at least for a period of time? What did your tracking look like? And then I also always talk about, in addition to mindless snacking, like we talk about eating, the leftover chicken nugget off your kid's plate or whatever that is. I talk about quality calories matter because I believe they do. In my experience, especially in my target market, if I have a client who comes to me who's eating 50% of their calories from fat, their results are not as good as somebody who's eating 40% of their calories from protein. So we
Well,
talk about that.
I have PCOS and nothing I've ever done works. But when I finally started to do keto, the weight just fell off. So what do you have to say about that?
That's probably an anti-inflammatory response. PCOS is super susceptible to gluten. And if you eliminated that because you went keto, that's probably what happened.
Yeah, but I didn't have to track my calories.
You automatically decreased your calories by decreasing your complex carbohydrate intake.
Yeah,
and your simple carbohydrate intake.
Yeah, but I eat bacon every day.
Doesn't mean you're healthy.
But I'm losing weight.
So is your goal to lose weight or is your goal to look different and feel different?
Well, I still have a weight loss goal.
Okay, but how do you feel? How do you sleep? What's your energy like?
Oh, it's great because the scale is going in the right direction.
So then what you're experiencing is a mental shift because you're of the scale shifting. But what's your energy really like? Do you feel like you need to take a nap at the end of the day before you go to bed?
Yeah, I'm always tired.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but it's because I have PCOS.
Probably not.
No, I think it is because my friend has PCOS, and they said that they're always tired, and so that's why I'm always tired.
So it sounds to me like you need to do some real self evaluation. You can't compare yourself. Your journey is not like anybody else's journey. PCOS is not a pass for scientific based and evidence based things. And I'll be happy to talk to you about that. But if you feel like what you're doing is what you need to do, go right ahead. And when it doesn't work anymore, you can give me a call.
Like it.
I don't, I mean, I've stopped engaging people like that because you're not going to change their mind.
Yeah. That's the tough part, right? And so that's a good segue, Miss Meredith, of like trying not to understanding and picking your battles like smartly, I guess is a good word. But um, so um, trying to convince someone something different than they're currently feeling or doing is very difficult because we are emotionally triggered by what we're going through and what we're eating. I talk about this all the time. I don't know why, but fitness is not emotional at all. People can do the most absurd workouts and not think anything of it. But the moment you attack their diet, all hell breaks loose, right? Like I could be like, Shara, like I think you deadlift too much, and I think you should squat more often. And Shara would be like, okay, whatever. But then if I'm like, Shara, uh, you're eating rice and that's the reason you're fat. Shara would be like, you're a fucking idiot, right? Like we're just like really like we're emotionally triggered by food, or we're emotionally triggered by me saying, Shara, like you have kids, and so you like, yeah, you're telling me your hormones are all fucked up and your body's all ruined, but like get over it. Like Cher's like, no, you don't know what I'm going through. I've had kids, blah 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 blah. So we have to be careful of like how we approach those conversations and how we maybe try to fight people to think differently or view themselves differently. So it has to come from like a really positive manner and be like, hey, which is kind of like my post that I just made like 5 seconds ago was about like, if I come out and I say something to you and then your immediate response is, well, what about this? Or what if I have that? I have to be very cautious of that because they're identifying with a certain condition, disease, whatever the case may be, lifestyle, and anything we say back is going to trigger them a certain type of way because it almost feels like we're calling them a liar. Which in like the adrenal fatigue video that I made the other day and the post I made is like, I'm not calling you a liar. What you're going through and what you are feeling is 1,000% correct because it's subjective to you. Your subjective input is true regardless of what I think. But objectively, what are the actual facts and what are we actually doing and what can we like take to the grave with us or what can we prove in court? That might not line up with your subjective feelings. So going through someone who says calories doesn't matter, I followed keto and it started to work, and you immediately go, well, yeah, that's because you dropped your carbs, which means you dropped your calories. You are objectively correct, but they are not going to subjectively agree with you. Because they feel like they're eating more food. They feel like they're eating bacon, they're eating butters, they're eating oils, they're eating whatever the case may be, and they're still losing weight. So they feel like they're eating more, which means they're probably eating more calories in their head. But since they cut out carbs, it was the carbs that was making it so hard for them to lose weight, not the calories. Um, and then we can walk through that conversation of, well, you might be more full because fats are really satiating, but you're still probably not overeating butter because that's gross. As if you could overeat chips and salsa, candy, diet soda, or sodas, alcohol, whatever the case may be. You cut out all that stuff on the keto diet. Um, and then going through their subjective feelings about their progress. So remember that if someone has been struggling to lose weight for years, maybe even decades, and then all of a sudden they start keto and the weight starts to fall off really quickly, they're going to be very motivated and very positive in all aspects of life. So that means they could get better sleep. They could feel better. They could exercise better and exercise more. They could be more positive. They could take care of their mental health issues, so on and so forth, all because the scale is going in the right direction. Um, and so and that kind of brings me to the weight loss drug standpoint. What's up, Nelda? The weight loss drugs, because you see it all the time, and you see it mostly on social media from like influencers and stuff like that. Not really any like coaches that I know of, but other famous people who dog on people for taking Ozempic or some other weight loss drug. And it's like, look, if this drug is making the scale go in the right direction, which is leading to more positive behaviors and mindsets in the rest of your life, then like by all means, why would we not want that to happen? Which is what Dr. Mike Israetel says. He like in the video, he's like, willpower one doesn't cross between disciplines. So just because I have willpower at my job, willpower at my relationship, willpower at finances, budgeting, whatever the case may be, that doesn't mean I have that same willpower when it comes to my diet. And that means that I probably don't have the results on the scale that I'm looking for. And so if I'm going to take a weight loss drug and it's going to drop me 20, 30, 40 pounds pretty quickly, now can I go be a better employee? Now can I go be a better spouse? Now can I go be a better inspiration to other people? Now can I go be a better parent? Now can I go be a better just human for myself? Because the scale and the way that we see the scale and our relationship with the scale is that powerful. It is that powerful. So way back, like maybe like a year ago, when we started this, we talked about delivering your clients results and doing what they ask you to do, even if you're like, well, I really need to work on your sleep, or I really need to work on your hydration, or I really need, if your client's not losing weight, you're not, and they hired you for weight loss, you're not doing your job and you're probably not doing them justice. So, like how we do nutrition at Facts Over Fats, we give a high calorie day and a low calorie day. And both days put them in a deficit, but for weight loss clients, but the low calorie day obviously puts them in a bigger deficit. So if my client gets frustrated with their progress, my first piece of advice is follow your low calorie day more often. Let's not even touch your high calorie day. Let's stay at your low calorie day, or let's take your high calorie day and everything that's a carb, remove it and keep everything else. Keep your protein the same, keep your veggies the same, and keep your fats the same, which we only really put like avocado and almonds on our plan. But if you have breads, rices, pastas, rice cakes, fruit, whatever the case may be, just remove it. And let's watch the scale go in the right direction, because they will get motivated and they will get excited. And then they will let that lead to other, or fall into or flow into other areas of their life. So if we can get a client's scale moving in the right direction, no matter how we do it, I promise you they will have a more positive impact in their own lives in all areas. Now, to kind of put a stop to that, the only kind of caveat is if we put you on like a crash diet, if we put you on like an 800 calorie diet and now you're miserable and you have a terrible relationship with food and you have a terrible rebound from recovery and you can't sleep because you're so hungry and you can't think throughout the day because you're so hungry and you're so underfueled. Well, now we've just created a different issue. So that's kind of the lower limit there is like, hey, I need you to be losing weight because that's your goal. And I need that to kind of cross into other areas of your life. So you're motivated and positive and doing great things in other areas. Whether we do that through weight loss drugs or not, don't care me. I don't care as long as we're doing it in a healthy manner and we're not going on a crash diet. So those are kind of like my two parameters. So let's pivot into the power of weight loss drugs. Do you ladies have any questions about weight loss drugs, or have you worked with clients on weight loss drugs? What's their What's their feedback? What's your feedback? How do you approach it? Or to include weight loss surgery. If someone had like a gastric bypass or a tummy tuck or a sleeve or whatever you call it, a tummy sleeve, I don't know what it's called. Any
Gastric sleeve.
gastric sleeve, there you go. Any experience or exposure there?
I had a client that was on Ozempic and he had to be rushed to the hospital because he stopped pooping.
Yep.
And then I had another lady that I met at the gym. She said, I can't sign up with you with nutrition coaching because I'm on Ozempic, but I hardly eat because I'm always sick.
Yeah.
And another person who took my class one time, she was on Ozempic. And she's like, Lisa, when I lose this weight, I'm going to start coming to your class. I'll be able to handle it. So I bumped into her like 2 weeks later and I said, well, how are you doing? She goes, oh, I got rushed to the hospital because she was just like throwing up and just was sick as a dog. So I think my experience with people who have been on Ozempic has been absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
And then like I've seen stars on TV. If you ever watched the movie Pitch Perfect, there was a girl named Fat Amy. She looks amazing now. Like I didn't even recognize her. And then like Kelly Clarkson. But I think it goes to the extreme. So then if you've ever watched the show, not that I watch TV all the time, but there's a show, I think it was Housewives of Beverly Hills. I think all of them went on it and they all look disgusting. Like they're like really skinny and it's scary. And I just think I just don't think it's a healthy message. I have a client who takes my class. Listen to this. He's on Ozempic. He's lost 20 pounds. He looks fantastic. So I said to him, I go, well, you're going to go off of it, right? Like you don't have to stay on it forever. He goes, oh no, I'm going to stay on it. And I said, well, why would you stay on it? And he's like, because it controls my sugars. So I'd rather be on something that controls my sugars so I don't have to think about it and I can still enjoy my life and the lifestyle that I have. So, I mean, I just kept my mouth shut because I was just like, all right, well, you're really feel strong about this. But like, I don't know. I personally don't agree with that. I don't want to be on medication. But just like you were saying, if you've never been fat, if you've never been that desperate, like you don't understand what people are going through and the lengths that they'll go to remain thin. And like when you were saying before, like if they're getting all these positive results, that's great, but is it sustainable? And that's what I want for people. I don't want you changing your diet of something that you're not going to stick with. Like it cannot be a quick loss because that is the weight that comes back with a vengeance. So you're not losing body fat, you're losing muscle mass. And then you're slowing down your metabolism. And then you gain the weight back and now you have less muscle mass and more body fat and now you're on that yo-yo diet again.
So, all right. So, couple things. One, the medication is going to work regardless. So that's something we have to understand. And part of the side effects is gastroparesis and slowing down your GI system so that food stays in your stomach longer so that you stay fuller longer. So, and then when we did the weight loss seminar a couple months ago with the pharmacist, he said there's a lower limit and an upper limit. So if you don't eat while you're on the medicine because the medicine is ruining your appetite, literally, you will have side effects because you're not eating. So you do need to eat and drink to push things through your system. But if you eat too much, you're going to puke and throw up and be nauseous. So it's going to happen so you have to find this really narrow window of opportunity to have a positive experience with the medicine. And because again, when you take the medicine and you initially feel nauseous, your initial response is, well, I'm not going to eat because I'm nauseous. But not eating is part of the problem. Or if you still have these really unhealthy relationships with food and you say, well, I took the medicine, but I'm still going to go to McDonald's, you go get the McDonald's and now you're nauseous and now you throw up. So you're throwing up on either end of the spectrum. You're nauseous on either end of the spectrum. It's a really narrow window of opportunity. So that's very tough. A lot of people don't really understand that. because doctors aren't counseling them on what to do and how to take it. They just say, hey, take this shot once a week. See you in 3 months. We might up the dosage, we might not, so on and so forth. So under
Joseph,
yeah.
sorry. So if they went to McDonald's and they ate McDonald's, is it because they ate too much McDonald's, or they just ate McDonald's because of the saturated fat that they ate? Like, I don't
Just
It
really
could be
understand.
different for every patient. It's not uniform across the board.
Well, most of it is going to be because of the quantity of food, because the medicine won't allow it. The medicine is saying stomach and GI system slow down. So the more you overload it, it's not going to go this way. It's not going to come out the other end. It's going to go back up, and that's why we throw up, because your GI system is frozen. It's slowed, right? So most of the issue is a quantity thing. But to Meredith's point, like I have clients who love coffee, have coffee every day, 5 times a day. They got on Ozempic. They hate coffee. They cannot even stand the smell of coffee. So
Did it change their taste buds, or
yep.
No,
Change buds.
it has to do with the chemical response. It's a brain chemical
also-
response, how the mechanism of the medicine.
It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
powerful on their brain. It is so powerful.
Yeah.
On their brain. I had a guy who tried it for like 2 months because he had this, I don't know, he has like a connection, and they said, hey, we can give you 2 months free of it or whatever. And when I was on a consultation with him, he literally was like, Joseph, I don't even think about food anymore. He's like, I literally don't care if I eat or if I don't eat. That's the power of the drug. He's like, I can look at my favorite food and not even budge, not even get excited. He's like, and it's my favorite food. And I could not eat for 3 days, and I still don't care about my favorite food sitting right in front of me. And I'm like, that's powerful. Now,
but isn't that like, see, like to me, like that's not healthy.
yeah, but when you
Well, in a lot of
obsess over food, when
What's
when
that?
when you obsess over food for the last 20 years of your life, and you're 300 pounds, the act of now not obsessing over food is like, it's like a miracle.
Yeah.
that's a very freeing feeling.
Yeah, very. It's kind of like, an alcoholic or a drug addict no longer craving alcohol or
Like that addiction.
yeah. The
Is-
food that, and that's why, like, and Dr. Mike, he goes into it. He's like, hey, like if I was like, hey Lisa, do you like food? Like, Lisa, let's have a conversation real quick. Lisa, do you like food?
Love it.
What's your favorite food?
Pizza.
When last did you have it?
Last night,
How often do you have it?
twice a week.
All right. So with Mike, when he goes and he asks Chris, he's like, do you like food? And Chris is like, yeah, I like food. And he's like, okay, but do you notice how you say, yeah, I like food? Someone who loves food gets like excited. It like raises their heart rate. Like they get so excited. They think about it 24/7. Their whole day is off of, what am I going to eat next? What am I going to eat next? Oh, I lost Lisa.
That's me. I'm that person.
So let me see if she'll jump back on real quick. I don't know if her phone. I'm going to give her 30 seconds while I yell at this person.
Before Ozempic and Trulicity and all that were so popular for weight loss, I was on it because of the pre-diabetes, and I never realized why I was getting so nauseated. I guess it was because I was eating too much while being on it.
On Ozempic?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Just depends on, again, and this is another reason why, like, we don't always have to increase the dosage. Because if you increase the dosage, you're just going to increase the side effects. And so,
Well, that was the other thing I was going to say a while ago, is that I think as coaches, we have to encourage our clients who are taking these drugs to advocate for themselves.
yeah.
And if they're having these side effects, because I mean, I know providers who send out the drug and on the side of the bottle, it says do 10 units for 4 weeks, do 20 units for the next 4 weeks, so on and so forth. But the reality is that because patients don't read the textbooks and everybody's different, they may not need to ramp that way.
Yeah.
And the patients are not empowered to advocate for themselves to avoid or mitigate some of those side effects and still see results.
Yeah. And I think they just see the prescription that, oh, I'm supposed to increase it, so I have to increase it. But it's kind of like, I always like try to use the example of Tylenol. If you can take 2 Tylenol and it kind of fixes your pain or fixes your headache, you don't need to go take 4. It's already fixed at 2. And so stay at 2. And it's the same thing. If you're taking a weight loss drug and you're losing a pound per week, like you don't need to go lose 2 or 3 pounds per week. To just stick with your 1 pound. So you don't need to go up your dosage. But Lisa, I paused. I didn't finish. When you got cut off, I didn't keep talking without you.
Thank you. My phone just died. I'm like, wait.
So going back into, again, when you talk to someone who's like severely overweight, their whole world revolves around food. And if they don't get it, they start to panic and they start to have anxiety. And then they start to think about, well, if I'm not going to have it now, when am I going to have it? And so when I was talking to my guy client, he was like, Joseph, it's the weirdest thing I don't care if I eat or not. Like and I've never been this way because I obsess over food 24/7. And that's been my life for 20 years. And it's the same thing like when we stress or when we have anxiety or when we celebrate, it's like, what are we going to eat? What are we going to eat? What are we going to eat? And we see this a lot with injuries, right? Like people get injured. And if they're an athlete and they work out pretty regularly and then they get injured, a lot of them will gain weight because they just eat their feelings because they feel like, oh, I can't work out. So I suck. Life sucks. I'm stressing. I'm broken. Eat. And the medicine stops that. Now, going back to your point of like, some people look very unhealthy on it. It could be because they lost the weight too fast, or it could be because they never had the weight to lose in the first place. So if you have 15, 20 pounds to lose, you should not be on the medicine. That's not a big enough reason for you to be on the medicine. Now, if you have 50 to 100 pounds, huh?
How do people get on it then?
So when we were talking to Gilbert about it, it's a lot of one, they say, oh, you have to have like a certain BMI, a height to weight ratio. But outside of that, like doctors can finagle the application for it. And then and that's from an insurance standpoint. Outside of insurance, anyone can give it to you. So meaning like if you have a doctor and they're like, hey, your insurance is not going to approve of this, and you say, well, I want to pay out of pocket, the doctor will be like, okay, go get it. So
how much is
it's a couple $100 a month. And so Gilbert was saying there's a lady that comes in to his pharmacy to get this prescription filled for herself, and she's like 115 pounds, and she already looks unhealthy, but she wants to be like 100 pounds. And he's like, you don't have 15 pounds to lose. And so we started talking about mental health and like body imaging and body dysmorphia and stuff like that. And so it's really interesting to think that even on the lower end, like this is why anorexia is a thing, right? It's like people just are not happy with their image and they want to lose weight, regardless of how they do it, whether they're throwing up, whether they take a medicine, whether they starve themselves, like whatever. And that's the opposite end of the spectrum of like, these people are unhealthy. But for the obese people, if we can kind of help them take their mind off of food, like how much more powerful and impactful in other areas of their life could they be? So if an obese person thinks about food for 10 hours a day and now they're not thinking about food at all, that's so freeing for someone to free up their brain for 10 hours a day. Like what are you going to do now with that 10 extra hours of brain power? And that's where I get into it and where I really don't care what you do, because I understand if you struggle with a certain thing and then now I've freed up 10 hours of brain space, I guarantee you're going to go be a better human somewhere else in your life, or maybe a worse human. I don't want to say always better, but you might go be a serial killer because now you have so much time to plan kill. But whatever, right? Whatever the case may be. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do almost everything. And some people are doing it the wrong way. And that's why I think having a coach to walk the journey with is so important. So we can tell them, hey, I know you're not hungry, but I need you to eat. I know you're not thirsty, but I need you to drink. I know you may be tired or whatever, but I need you to exercise. And they can have someone walk this journey because they're not going to want to. They're not going to want to do it on their own because the medicine is going to make them feel a certain type of way. So for futuristic purposes, we are on Gen 4 of the medicine. Gen 6 is already being created. Gen 5 is about to launch. So we have semaglutides, which is Gen 3, tirzepatide, which is Gen 4. I forget what Gen 5 is called, but it's about to become available on the market. And then Gen 6 is already in the works in the labs. So the medicine's not going anywhere. It's only getting stronger and it's only getting less side effects. So for you to be
they're
like,
improving it.
they're improving, yeah, for sure. It's getting more and more powerful. So for instance, like semaglutide, Ozempic, there's a certain max dosage because outside of that would be unhealthy. So what people are doing is they're taking Ozempic and then they're pivoting over to tirzepatide to increase their dosage and minimize their side effects. So doctors will get them to their max dosage of Ozempic. And then if they still need more help, they still need more medicine, they'll pivot them over to Gen 4. They'll take that up to its max, and then they're going to be able to pivot to Gen 5 and take that up to their max. And so it's not going anywhere. Like this is probably the future of all weight loss across the world. And so for you as a coach to be like, well, I don't support people to take it, you're about to like really limit your reach because millions and millions of people are already taking it. And it's only becoming more and more readily available, meaning like now you have like you can go to your grocery store. My gym sells Ozempic. My gym, like it's fucking insane. It's everywhere. So you're not gonna escape it. It doesn't really have to be medically modified or checked in on. They say, here's your injections. Yep, you're fat. See you in 6 months. That's literally how easy it is. You don't have to come check in with me every week. You don't have to do labs. You don't have to do anything. And so
How does get away with that then?
how does what?
How does the gym get away with that then?
They partner.
They got a medical director.
Yeah, they partner with like a nurse practitioner or a doctor who can write the script, and you pay out of pocket. So insurance can't shut it down. And as long as you're overweight or as long as you're quote unquote unhealthy, like they will never get sued. They'll never be in trouble.
And what about the ones that, what'd you call it, Gen 6?
Gen 6, the medicine.
Is that going to be through a doctor or is that going to be like at CVS, go pick it up?
I have no idea. But how all medicines work essentially from a weight loss standpoint and a hormonal standpoint, same thing. Like you used to have to go through your doctor to get hormone replacement therapy. Now you don't. You go to a medical facility with a medical director and a sales team, and they do some labs on you, and they say, "Hey, we're not going to accept your insurance because your insurance will block this. But because you want help and need help, here's all the testosterone you need, and here's all the medications to help you with it." And so, it's not a matter of like, are we going to have access to it? It's a matter of like, how are we going to help the people that do get on it, right? Because again, millions of people are already on it, and millions of people don't even realize that they can go outside of their healthcare team to go get it. And once they realize it's that readily available, everyone's going to be on it.
So then like,
That's
how do,
what I was
sorry, go on.
Well, Lisa, I was going to say to you, like, I was on just several months ago. I don't know. Joseph and I have talked about this a lot, but I was sort of on the same platform as you. Like, it was not something that I advocated, like I just couldn't, I didn't feel like I could get behind it because I too knew a lot of people who had a lot of negative side effects from it.
Right.
And I guess the more that I researched and the more that we realized that it wasn't going anywhere, I had to shift my mindset to people.
Losing you.
And I can either, what happened?
Well, you're cutting out.
Did I go away?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm in the country. Go ahead.
You got to change your mindset to get behind it.
Yes. Yeah. Help them get healthier in the process.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, we lost you again.
He's out.
What?
Put it in the chat. You're
I
just
know,
not doing
in the
it.
country. I'm in, I am driving.
Can't hear you.
Joseph, what do you like with like clients coming on that are taking this? Like, I don't know how to coach them. Like when it comes to their calories.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's like drastic. Like there's that man that was on it. He should have been on 2,100 calories. I had to put him on 1,400. And he was even struggling to eat that.
Yeah. So you pivot away from like the whole calorie game and you kind of focus more on like, are we getting in X amount of protein? Are we getting in X amount of fiber? So on and so forth. You kind of pivot away from quantity and go into quality. And so like, hey, I know you don't have much of an appetite, but when you do, I need you to eat some lean protein and I need you to eat some vegetables and I need you to be drinking water and so on and so forth. So you kind of pivot away from the whole calorie game. Normally what I'll do with my clients is I will, let me pull the chat. I will say like, hey, I'm going to give you a blank meal plan with a protein goal and a fiber goal, and that's it. And you just log against that and you see how you're lining up in these two compartments, these two departments, these two categories, whatever they're called, macros, and go from there. Because again, like having them, and this is the same thing with weight loss surgery clients. Most of the time, what I do with weight loss surgery clients is I'll treat them as if they don't have weight loss surgery. And I'll say, hey, we're going to work up to this because I can kind of reverse the surgery over time. The weight loss drug, you're not going to win. Like, you're not going to win that. So there's two different approaches there. So, but the weight loss drug is, hey, let's just focus on quality foods. Like I have a client who takes it and the weeks where she doesn't see any progress, she like went to Wingstop, she got pizza, they stopped at Whataburger, so on and so forth. And she's like, well, I didn't eat a lot. Like I only had one slice of pizza. And I'm like, that was 300 calories. And then you went and had wings. That was 500 calories. And then you went and had this, and that was 1,000 calories and blah, blah, blah. I was like, I get it. You didn't eat a lot, but you're still eating the wrong things. And so that's where like you don't have any progress. And then when you hit your protein goal from really good sources and lean sources, you see tons of progress. And so again, I kind of take the focus away from trying to hit a number and just focus on like healthy foods, hitting protein and fiber and hydration.
So for women, fiber is they should be hitting 25 grams a day. And men are what again? Is it 32?
35.
35.
But more is always better.
Right.
From a fiber standpoint. So, but it's tough too, because like because sometimes fiber causes side effects of like bloating and gas and so on and so forth. So you have to make sure that you're having the right type of fiber. So for instance, if beans make you gassy, maybe we need to switch to like a whole grain pasta. If vegetables make you gassy or cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, maybe we need to switch to green beans, So also be cautious of the side effects that just come from fiber in general. But yeah, again, the medicines are not going anywhere. They're only going to get cheaper and easier to get. And so again, if you have this really negative mentality behind it and you're like, well, I'm not going to work with anyone who is on the medicines, or I don't know what to say to people who are on the medicines, like you're going to do yourself a disservice. I think I was no, that wasn't you who I said, was it you? No, it was Yvette. You or Yvette, but one of y'all needed help with weight loss drugs for some presentation. And I was like, just fucking chat GPT it and just learn as much as you can through chat GPT about those you.
Because I want to get a job at one of them weight loss clinics and as a nutrition coach.
Yeah.
Remember? I'm still looking to get a job at a clinic or at a doctor's office that does the shots or the bariatric and kind of be their nutrition coach.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, what if you have the opposite client, the client that can eat through all that? I mean, and I have a camper that's on the shot, right? And she's not losing, she's gaining.
What?
Yes, because she can eat through, she don't get nauseated, she don't get sick, and because I said, hey, what about the nutrition plan? She says, girl, I spent too much money on the Ozempic shot and this, that, and the other. And I said, well, how's your diet? I mean, how are you eating? What are you eating? And she's gaining instead of losing. And so I need help on, I guess it's a mindset thing. You have to change the mindset.
So you can set little, so what I normally do is I'll either do it with protein or fiber, but I will say, hey, you can't eat anything else until you eat 30 grams of protein. You can't eat anything else until you eat 10 grams of fiber. So
Okay.
that's the easiest thing to do, because if 30 grams of protein is about 6 ounces of chicken breast, 6 ounces of ground beef, 6 ounces of ground, so 6 ounces of almost any protein. So if you want rice, can't have it until you eat 30 grams of protein. If you want dessert, can't have it until you eat 30 grams of protein. If you want whatever, can't have it until you do this. So setting like little simple things like that, because it's really easy for them to keep track of. It's like, oh, I need 6 ounces of a certain protein, and just go with that. And it makes more sense. Instead of you just saying, hey, follow the meal plan, follow the meal plan, follow the meal plan, they're like, well, I am, but then I'm also like eating more rice and I'm also eating more pasta. And then I hope I go snack and so on and so forth. You can't snack until you have 30 grams of protein. And like, who cares? Oh God, they hit 200 grams of protein because you just made them keep eating 30 grams, 30 grams, 30 grams. But like, that's the least of our concerns.
That's a good idea. I'm going to talk to her about that.
Yeah. It's kind of like a reward system. It's like, hey, if you do want potato chips, fine, but you have to eat 30 grams of protein first. Um, because what's going to happen is hopefully they get full. If you eat enough 30 grams of protein, 30 grams of protein, they're going to be full. And then they're like, well, I don't even fucking want chips anymore because I'm so full.
Right.
I got to eat my chicken breast. And then also in that video, so again, I want you guys to watch it, but he talks about like the evolution of how to make healthier decisions. So like, let's take like sauces and marinades. He's like, let's say you're using a bunch of sauces when you cook, oils when you cook, so on and so forth. He goes, go from like creamy sauces to clear sauces, and then go from clear sauces to like dry rubs, and then you go from dry rubs to like just salt and pepper. So there's like phases of how you can start decreasing your calories. And also because remember, your taste buds hypertrophy. So your taste buds get bigger. This is why when you drink something sweet, or eat something really tasty, you almost need more of it the next time because you don't get the same effect. It's just like drugs. If you take, if you do marijuana and you get high, you're like, well, now I want to do cocaine. And when you do cocaine, you're like, well, now I want to do heroin. Like, when I do heroin, now I want to do whatever else, right? Your taste buds are the same way. So this is where like people are like, I need something sweeter, 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 is because your taste buds will hypertrophy, but they can also atrophy. So when we start to take away sweetness, it's the same reason when people like go on a really crazy diet and then you give them something sweet, they're like, oh my gosh, that is so sweet. Like I can't even eat that anymore because your taste buds will change.
Yep.
And so trying to phase people out of certain seasonings, certain sauces, marinades, dressings, so on and so forth. Like I'm the same way. Like I'm not a sweet person at all. Like I can have a couple bites of cheesecake. I can have a couple bites of a cookie, but like some people can crush sweets. And I'm like, I'll get sick. I don't even like the way it tastes because I don't eat it very often. If I did, of course, I would be like, okay, it's getting a little bit easier to eat, a little bit easier to eat, a little easier to eat. And that's the same concept with healthy food. Everyone's like, well, chicken, rice, and broccoli is really bland and really boring. And I'm like, yeah, because you're used to fucking McDonald's. So of course it's bland and boring.
Yeah.
But start cutting out McDonald's and you'll see like chicken, rice, and broccoli isn't so bad. And Mike talks about it as well. He goes, you know what? Like and he talks about bodybuilders, but he's like, when bodybuilders are like 2 weeks out, 1 week out from their show, and they're literally starving themselves. He's like, do you know how good chicken and broccoli sounds? He's like, it sounds really good because you're really hungry. And that's the problem. Like people are like, if your client says, I'm hungry, and you say, okay, go eat chicken breast, and they go, ew, no. And you're like, okay, well then you're not fucking hungry. You're just bored, right? And so it's kind of like that eye-opening type. Like, if you were truly starving, you would eat the shit out of some chicken, but you're not starving. So maybe you just need to stop eating. and it's a tough conversation. And everyone's like, well, if I eat, if I don't eat, I go into starvation mode. If I don't eat, whatever, like I'm going to lose unhealthy weight. And I'm like, you got plenty of weight to lose. You'll be fine. Like I promise.
Oh my God.
People fast for 5 to 7 days and they're fine. Like
Yeah.
chill out. Like you'll be okay if you miss a meal. Like I promise. And so, but you have to have that conversation face to face. Don't text them like you got plenty of weight to lose, fat ass. Like just miss a meal. Please don't.
You texted it to me, you turd.
That's because I love you though.
I was just gonna say because he must love you then. To be brutally honest.
Yeah, and like again, it takes a certain level of a relationship with your client, obviously. But when you put it into that perspective, you're like, when your client's like, no, I'm hungry, what do I do? And you're like, go eat chicken. No, ew, what? I don't want chicken. Okay, then you're not hungry. Like, get over it. If chicken doesn't sound good, you're not hungry enough. So now, real quick, because we're almost done, I want to talk about set point theory or settling point theory, which they dive into in the podcast. It makes so much sense. Set point theory is your current body weight is a summation of your lifestyle, all things lifestyle. That could be nutritional habits, exercise habits, work habits, sleep habits, stress habits, hydration habits, whatever the case may be. Everything you're doing right now is the reason why you are the certain weight that you are. So what it says, and again, it's a theory, it's not quite a law, but what it says is if we just change anything in this summation of things, your new set point will also change. So for instance, a lot of people who come from Europe over here gain a lot of weight. And it's not that they changed anything really drastically. It's just that our food is cheaper and higher in calories than most food in Europe. And we are lazy. In Europe, people walk everywhere and they take public transportation everywhere. We don't do that here. We get in a car and we drive, and we get an Uber and we drive. We're not walking anywhere. We're not fucking being active. We're not in the parks and stuff hanging out. Like parks in America are fucking empty. And so when they come over here, it's like, okay, well, you didn't really change, you didn't mean to change anything. It's just your lifestyle changed from now you're eating higher calorie foods because we fucking put sauces on everything, and we can large size stuff and we can water size stuff and so on and so forth. And then you also aren't in a tight knit city where you can walk everywhere like you were used to in Italy, let's just say. So you come over here and now your new set point, you've been 180 pounds your whole life. You get to America and now you're 210. And it has nothing to do with anything other than you changing your environment in multiple different areas. So if your client says, okay, here's what I do really, really consistently. Here's what my work looks like. Here's what my exercise looks like. Here's what my nutrition looks like. Here's what my sleep looks like. Here's what yada, yada looks like. And I'm 200 pounds and I want to be 160. You just have to pick and choose which ones your client can change in this season of life. So it's like, okay, well, I see that, and we can take steps, for example. Pull up your phone, go to your step count, look at your average steps for the week or for the month. Your phone will tell you. All right, on average, you get 5,000 steps per day for the last 30 days. Cool. I need you to average 7,000 per steps every single day for the next 30 days. And so setting little goals like that could change their set point, which is their body weight, down, or you average 2,500 calories a day throughout the week. Maybe during the week you're doing 1,500, but on the weekends you're doing 4,000. So every day you average about 2,500. So let's try to make that average 2,000. Let's try that. Okay, well, now you only get 5 hours of sleep. And so now you're awake for 19 hours. You're hungry for 19 hours. You are scrambling for food for 19 hours. If you slept 3 more hours and got 8 hours of sleep, you now can only eat for 16 hours. I just took away 3 hours of your time to not eat. And so now we're going to drop your calories. Now we're going to sleep better, recover better, better hunger hormones, better sexual hormones because you're actually sleeping. So your new set point is 10 pounds less. And this is what's crazy. It's like if you are really consistent as a human and this is what I tell my clients, if you're consistent, I can change a million different things and spark progress. If you are all over the place, I won't know what to change to spark progress. So the more consistent you can be, and I tell my clients this all the time, I would rather you be consistently incorrect than inconsistently correct. Meaning, I would rather you do the wrong thing every single day and just go versus, oh, I had a good Monday and a Tuesday, and then I fucked up the rest of the week. And I was like, I would have rather you fuck up the whole week because then I at least know, hey, you did this every single day. Now we can fix it. And it could be simple things like clients are like, I love ice cream and I have ice cream every day. Okay, what's a lower calorie ice cream that we can plug in? I drink wine every single night. Okay, wine can get pretty crazy. What if we switch to a White Claw? Because at least a White Claw you can track. White Claw is lower in calories per glass per serving, but also you're not pouring yourself glass. You're pouring yourself glasses, and you're drinking half a bottle or a full bottle every day. Drink 2 White Claws instead. So, what are some easy ways that we can change their environment to change their new set point? Everyone's current body weight is a summation of everything you do more often than not. So think that through when your client says, well, I'm at a plateau. Okay, are you being consistent? Because if so, like we can change so many things. If not, we got to work on just getting consistent, even if it's with the wrong things. Get consistent with 5 hours of sleep. I know you need 8, but get consistent with 5. If you're like 5, 8, 2, 20, like if you're sleeping all over the place, I don't know what to do with you. Can't help you. Get consistent with being wrong, and then we can make it right. Because the consistency is the habit that we need. We need the habit of consistency. Then I can change whatever. I have ice cream every day. Awesome. I can find you a lower calorie ice cream. I sleep like I sleep 3 hours. Awesome. I can help you sleep 4. I drink 6 diet sodas. Awesome. That's a lot of liquid. So at least I know you're drinking liquid. I can now just change the liquid, right? And so again, consistency is the game with settling point. And this is where people say, well, I'm just always going to be this way. You are always going to be this way if you don't change your environment. If you don't change all of these things that add up to what your current body weight is right now, which is why we say it's a lifestyle change. So like we throw that word out, but we never explain what it really means. It's like, Lisa, if you were overweight and you were telling me I eat pizza twice a week, hey, we might want to stop eating pizza twice a week if you have a weight loss goal. That just makes sense. Does it not make sense? Yeah, Joseph, you're right. That makes sense. Okay. Or you have 5 slices of pizza when you do have it, eat 4. And then we work on eating 3. And then we work on eating 2. And we just go that route. So again, if your clients are consistently wrong, it's better than being inconsistently right. And so let your clients know, like, hey, I would rather you fuck up the whole week in a really consistent manner and you have all these bad vices and bad habits, because we can work with that. If you're all over the place, I don't know what to tell you. So we'll kind of end it there. We are at time. So in the beginning, I think, Nelly, you were a little bit late, but we talked about, do calories matter? And then how to approach someone who says, well, I tried keto and then the weight fell off. And so you're wrong. It's not about calories. It's about carbs. And I feel better. And so you're wrong again. How to handle that conversation. Talk about weight loss drugs, the power of them, not going anywhere. Again, we haven't even seen 5th generation, but 6th generation is already being created. And they talk about it in the podcast as well. And Lane Norton talks about it as well. Dr. Peter Attia talks about it as well. Like, the drugs aren't going anywhere. And then set point theory. And again, your client saying, I'm always going to be this way, or I've been this way for the last 10 years and nothing's changed. It's because their environment has not changed. And so if we want to change their set point, if we want to change their body weight, we have to change their environment, food sources, food choices, food quality, exercise time, exercise duration, exercise intensity. It's in I emailed it to you this morning, Nelda, the podcast. And then exercise, sleep, hydration, all those things. So I think they use the example of going on a cruise when cruise food is unlimited. He's like, imagine if you lived on a cruise ship your whole life, how much weight would you gain?
I
Right?
just feel
Yeah, like you'd be huge. Right? Like free food 24/7, like there's food everywhere.
ice
Yeah. And so like how huge would you be? And it's convenient because you can walk there on the boat, right? And so again, a lot of people we don't understand the power of the summation of our environments. So Meredith, I'm partying on our retreat. Fuck that. All right, let me jump on this next call. Y'all
Thanks, Joseph.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend. Watch the
the
podcast.
same.
It's good stuff. He cusses a lot, so be ready. Sorry about
Oh, I love it.
that. All right, I'll talk to y'all
Bye.
later. Bye.